So while it's not quite the end of the year yet, I thought it was about time I shared with you my whiskey highlights of 2022. Welcome back, Dram Fam, to the Whisky Diary. So before we get into my favourite whiskies of 2022, I thought I'd make a few announcements. Firstly, I just want to say a massive thank you to everyone that has watched, liked, commented and subscribed over this last year. I mean the channel has grown enormously, more than I ever thought it was going to. I got some statistics this time last year. In fact, actually it was a little bit after this time, but this time last year we were at 453 subscribers. We are now at 1,909. That is nearly 1,500 subscribers in a year, which is absolutely insane. This time last year I had a total of 7,000 views across all of my videos. This year, right now, we are at 62,000, just shy of 62,000, which is a lot more, and that is absolutely insane. Yeah, I'm absolutely over the moon. I'm absolutely loving making these videos. I always kind of cringe at myself if I ever go like asking for subs and stuff, but we are so close to 2,000. So if you haven't subscribed to the channel, please do consider subscribing. Let's see if we can get over the 2,000 mark before the end of the year. That would be absolutely incredible. I have absolutely been loving making the videos, but more than anything I've actually been really enjoying engaging with the little Whisky Diary community that we seem to be growing here. I'm seeing the same names popping up week after week in the comments, which is honestly really, really cool. I'm starting to, you know, spot a few as well. I've even met some of you at some of the whiskey festivals, but please, if you do come up and say hello, which I've got no issues with at all, please just tell me who you are, because I don't know what you look like. So a lot of people come up and say, oh, how's it going? And then they'll start talking to me as if we've been friends for ages. And that's really, really cool. But you might have to remind me what your name is on YouTube, because I have no idea who you are. But aside from all of that, I've decided to start a Patreon. And I have actually had a Patreon for a little while, but I've not advertised it. It's kind of something I thought I'll get set up now, and you know, maybe I'll launch it in the future. And some of you found it, so I want to thank you very much for that. But I will be refunding all of those, and we'll kind of start again from scratch, because I've not actually been active on it at all. Now, while I do these videos for me, the whiskies and stuff that I buy is because I love it and I love to make videos on it. But a lot of the time I would like to make videos, you know, for you guys. And so starting a Patreon is going to help me kind of recover some of the costs of that and help invest in being able to do more things, get to some distilleries and go on more journeys, so I can take you guys along with me. And as part of that, I get to give back to you guys with some, you know, exclusive content, behind the scenes content. We can have meetups, we can have live streams, we can have got to check the law on this, but we can have giveaways. I don't know what the law is around giving away whiskey to strangers on the internet, but fundamentally we can, you know, continue this community, and it's an opportunity for me to kind of give back to that community. And of course the usual stuff with the names at the end of the videos and stuff like that. If that is something that you would like to be a part of, I've dropped the link down in the description for anyone that wants to take a look. But anyway, enough of that, onto the whiskey. So how did I come up with this list? Well, I unceremoniously rifled through the 300 bottles behind me and pulled out the good ones. I'm kind of joking about that. A few of the bottles I knew immediately what I was going to pick, but I ended up pulling about 15 bottles off my shelf. Now, generally these are whiskies that have brought me some kind of excitement over the last year, bottles that have inspired me in some way. It's usually some kind of function of flavour and experience and price, because to me, I'm fairly price conscious of whiskey. I don't have a huge amount of money to blow on extravagant, expensive bottles, so I really do factor in price when I choose some of my whiskies. So one by one I went through the bottles that I'd picked off the shelf and ended up with 5 bottles that I really feel kind of encapsulate what I've enjoyed this year drinking whiskey. Some of these bottles you can find on Amazon. Some of these bottles I think are gone for good and will never resurface again. But this is kind of a look at my personal choices. This is something that's actually really quite personal to me. And I hope a lot of you guys will have had the opportunity to try some of these. And I'd love to know what your thoughts are down in the comments. But for those of you that watched last year, you know it is the same format. I cannot pick one, and what's my opinion anyway in the big wide world of whiskey opinions, especially on the internet. So first up, we have the Auchentoshan Sauvignon Blanc cask. This is really quite interesting. So this is a non-age statement from the Auchentoshan distillery. This of course makes it a lowland. It is chill filtered. It's probably coloured, if so it's only a smidge that they've used in there. It's still fairly pale. This is a vatting of bourbon and Sauvignon Blanc cask. I could not find the specific cask recipe, whether it's finishing or maturation or whatever else. It is bottled up at 47% ABV. This is an Amazon exclusive and it is £29. Yes, £29. So, what's this all about? On the nose, it is vanilla. It's kind of hints of apple pie. A little bit of a spicy thing going on in there. It's got kind of those carbonated white peach and grapefruit notes. It's got almost a creaminess going on. It's got a fruit candy-like sweetness. Rowntree's actually came out with some, they were like ice cream flavour fruit pastels, and this is exactly what they tasted like. The back end has got a little bit of a white peppery bitterness going on, but all in all, it's an absolutely delicious whiskey, and it's £29. The reason this ended up on the list is because it is bright, and it's zesty, and it's vibrant, and it's flavoursome. But whenever people come round, or whenever I go off to whiskey tastings, you know, do some tastings with my friends and stuff, this never comes with me. I never bring people, you know, in here and we sit down, we go through a bunch of whiskies. I never end up offering this out to anyone. But when I'm sat here, you know, on my own, looking for something to drink, I always go back to this. As soon as this bottle gets below there, I order another one. This is the third bottle of this that I'm on, yet I never seem to talk about it. And so I kind of realised, maybe this is actually one of my favourite whiskies, and I didn't even realise it was one of my favourite whiskies. Is it a 10 out of 10 dram? No, absolutely not. But the point is, I keep going back to it, which must mean something. So, on to the next one. This is the Heroes and Heretics Falls of Caledonia. This is a 6-year-old independent bottling of a Glentockers, which of course makes it a Speyside. It is unchill filtered, it is all natural colour, it is bottled up at 54%, it is a single cask, it is a single sherry hogshead, and this costs £55. Now, this is what I've actually been drinking throughout the day. This whiskey is absolutely massive. This is super juicy. I will coin the term right now, a dilute induced dram, because that is exactly what this is. It is so full on. I think for, you know, novice whiskey drinkers, this may need a little bit of water in it to dilute it back, but I personally absolutely love it. The nose has got almost like rich and roasty coffee, salted caramel, bit of a fruitiness going on as well, but it's almost smoky. It smells so rich. On the palate, there's chocolate, there's black cherry, there's black currant, there's cola cubes going on in there. The finish is figs and Christmas cake, and those coffee notes start coming back through, and then there's like a rum and raisin ice cream thing going on the back end. It is absolutely massive, it's juicy, it's an affordable single cask, which is just incredible. You're getting that cask strength, single cask quality, and I mean, this to me just screams of just such good quality liquid. And I don't know what it is at the minute, but I'm going absolutely mad for Glentockers. I can't get enough of Glentockers. Probably like my 4 favourite whiskies that I've drunk in the last month, I think, have been Glentockers. So whatever they're doing over there, I have no idea, but it's excellent. So my third whiskey is a Glenmorangie Warehouse one. Now, if you watched last year, you will know the Glenmorangie Tokai finish was one of my whiskies of the year, and this year it is the Oloroso Full Maturation. So this is a 2014 vintage. That would make it 7 or 8 years old, I believe. It is, of course, from Glenmorangie, making it a Speyside. It is unchill filtered. It is natural colour. It is bottled up at 50%. It has been fully matured in Oloroso, believe it or not. It's not quite a single cask. It is a vatting of 4 casks, and there's about 1950 bottles, and it costs about £75 a bottle. This is another one of those huge dilute-induced drams. Like, it's so big and rich and thick. On the nose, it's really spicy and like nutty. It's just huge sherry influence. The palate is overwhelmingly rich and sticky with tons of allspice and Christmas cake and figs and raisins. The finish is a little bit sulphury, which, you know, personally I don't mind. I quite like a little bit of sulphur, so I don't find it too bad. But yeah, a lot more of that allspice and that Christmas cake, and it's sweet and it's super sticky. It's not hugely complex, to be honest. It's a very consistent experience from nose to finish. But if you like that profile, then you're going to love absolutely everything about this liquid. Now, is it for everyone? Probably not. If you're not into sulphur, if you're sensitive to sulphur in a negative way, I would probably stay well away from this. And if you're not into sherry cask finishes, well, you're definitely not gonna like this. Where you have sherry bombs, this is probably the equivalent of a sherry nuke. Up next, and I've definitely spoken about this before on the channel, this is the Dram Ben Nevis White Port. This is an 8-year-old Ben Nevis, which of course makes it a Highland. This has been bottled by the Dram Group. It is unchill filtered, it is natural colour, it is bottled up at 53%. It was matured in bourbon casks and then finished in first fill white port. And when it was available, unfortunately I haven't been able to find this anywhere since. I'm really staving off finishing the last bits of this. It was about, I believe it was about £75 a bottle. This is on my list because it is another one of those whiskies where as soon as I tasted it, I did not know whether I loved it or hated it. My palate could not make sense of it, but I could not stop going back for more. The nose is a mix of like vanilla custard and pink peppercorn. The palate is like Caramac bars. If you've had, it's like caramel flavoured chocolate. It's birthday cake. It's apples and pears. It's oaky and woody and fruity. On the back end, that oak kind of turns to black pepper. That Caramac bar persists throughout, and it almost has a peach, like a peach candy, a tail end of the fruitiness. It's just so different and so Moorish. Like, to my palate, it was just absolutely incredible. I can imagine you'd give this to some whiskey drinkers and their first question would be, what the f*** is that? I can definitely see this being quite a divisive whiskey, but for me, I can feel and I can taste that big, thick, oily, almost greasy spirit paired with this almost delicate kind of white grape and peach white port thing going on, and somehow those flavors marry perfectly. I'm absolutely in love with this stuff. Now, last up, and probably, maybe, possibly my whiskey of the year, but I could not commit to any one, so you've got all 5. I love them all equally, but maybe this one just a little tiny bit more. This is the 31-year-old Girvan from Master of Malt. This is a 31-year-old single grain from the Girvan distillery that has been bottled by Master of Malt. Unchill filtered, natural colour, bottled at 54.6%. It has been matured in refill bourbon barrels, and when it was available, it was around £86 a bottle. I'm not going to go too deep into the taste notes. I did a full review on this fairly recently, so I'll drop a link to that down in the description. But it's a big toffee, peanutty, caramelly experience from start to finish, with a little bit of a peppery, almost lemony back end on it. The reason that I chose this is because honestly, I just love it. Whenever I find myself going to, you know, like I say, to a friend's house to take a few bottles over, this comes with me. Whenever I've got maybe some newer whiskey drinkers that come over to try some stuff, this comes out. Whenever I'm sat drinking with my friends who I drink whiskey with a lot, this comes out. This is a whiskey that I give to literally anyone that will take it off of me. This is my try this kind of bottle. I think everyone's got one, their kind of their secret favourite that they always like to pull out when they kind of want to show off a little bit. And for me, this was it. As I said before, price is a really big deal for me, and I think for a 31-year-old, now while age isn't everything, I think having something as old as this, especially in single grain, is absolutely fantastic, and it's so incredibly well priced. I know several people that have tried it. Many of those people went on to buy it, and almost everyone I know has said they absolutely loved it. And that is why I would argue that this is probably one of my favourite whiskies of 2022. But anyway, that's enough from me. Thank you all very much for watching for the whole of 2022. Thank you to everyone that's watched, that's liked, that's commented and subscribed. Let me know down in the comments what your favourite whiskies of 2022 are. Now, we do still have a couple of episodes coming later on in the year. I think we've got 2 or 3 more episodes queued up. But until then, I will see you all in 2023. Slàinte mhath.